So, you want to start talking, just say some shit.
Hi, my name's Pokémon King here. Like, comment, subscribe, please. I'm selling my tins anyway, so not sure if I'm a tin man anymore.
Okay, let's see.
What is up, guys and girls? PTK Collectibles back with another TCG Roundup video. So this TCG Roundup videos are where I go through variety TCGs, kind of how they're doing so far, my thoughts on what they've been doing over the last quarter, and some stuff that, you know, might be coming out of future releases. So I do sell singles for around 8 TCGs, so I try to keep, touch base with, variety TCGs because I need to understand what's happening, because I'm a single seller. So, if I don't, then it means I'm not selling stuff. So I'm going to start with Yu-Gi-Oh! Because Yu-Gi-Oh! Is probably the most improved TCG for me in the last 12 months, maybe even to sort of 18 months, really. So we're going to follow on from... We had obviously the 25th anniversary stuff that came out. 25th anniversary lasted like 2.5 years. We've just had the quarter century Stampede set. So we had Rarity Collection 1, 2, and then we had the quarter century Bonanza, which was an absolutely fantastic set. And I did talk about this in the last roundup, but I did say that I think it's potentially one of the best modern sets for any TCG made. It is such an enjoyable experience. I still enjoy and open it now. And Stampede is just the follow on from that, really. So it's always going to be one of those sets that's very decisive because people liked Stampede. They thought it was a great set. The same with when Rarity Collection 2 came out. Everyone enjoyed the first one. I think Stampede probably is not as good as Bonanza, but I still think it's a fantastic set. Obviously, you've got a lot of the new quarter century rares. They promised that they weren't going to print anything in that slot that had been printed prior to that. Obviously, you've got the prismatic secret rares as well as secrets, ultras, ultimate, collectors. So it is the closest thing that Yu-Gi-Oh! Has to like a collector pack. And they're not like £30 each. So boxes are around about 100, 105. So generally, Yu-Gi-Oh! Boxes are around sort of 60 to £65 a box on release. So it is significantly more expensive, but still cheaper than, most TCG's boxes, or in line with kind of how they do things. So Stampede has some really great cards in it. It has loads of Dark Magicians. I've not opened too much myself, but I will be cracking some for singles. So overall, really great set. I think the next set is going to be the last one with the quarter centuries, the main set, and then that's it. And then we've got the Mega Pack 2025 announced, and this time they're doing something a little bit differently. So usually they do the tins, which I don't have any on me, but usually they do a tin every single year, the Mega Tin. But this time they're actually going to do the tins as well as like a tuck box. So I assume it's going to be kind of similar to like a special edition style box where you get the free packs, but you don't get the dividers, obviously, and you don't get the tin, which, some people like the dividers. The tins are quite cool, but, when you're cracking so many packs for singles, it's a bit annoying. So the tins are exclusively to LGS stores, brick and mortar stores, whereas the tuck boxes can be purchased by LGS and online. So it does actually mean that, online stores get the opportunity to get the set still, but they don't get the bulky tins, which kind of makes sense. It makes me feel like they're understanding where the market is right now, and a lot of the streamers that aren't brick and mortar stores crack a lot of product, and the tins just pile up, right? They are great for storage, and they are great for shipping things, but when you've opened a couple of cases of the tins, you've got enough tins, right? And often than not, I have to end up bidding quite a lot of the tins, and it does feel a little bit bad because, they're quite bulky and it just feels a bit of a waste. But they found a solution to this. So I think that's a really good idea, a great product. I'm looking forward to that. I think Yu-Gi-Oh! And Konami are doing some really good things recently. I don't touch the main sets too much, really, just because I know a lot of that is going to get reprinted either, a Rarity Collection, a quarter century, or, something like the Mega Pack tins. So, interesting. Obviously, it's going to be the last quarter century. I don't know what they're going to do. I think we're bringing back to... So, the Mega Tins will have Starlight Rares in. So, it'll be one Starlight Rare, I think, per pack, rather than the quarter century rare. So, it does make Starlight Rares a little bit easier to pull. Some of those Starlight Rares, the pull rates on those were ridiculous. I think it was like 1 in 12 cases or something like that. So in 1 or 12 boxes. So I think it was about 1 per case roughly, maybe even harder than that. So it was definitely quite an interesting one. Magic the Gathering, what? It seems every time I talk about Magic, it feels quite sort of mixed, really, because I understand why they do the Universes Beyond product, because it is, as I've talked about previously, it does future-proof the product. You know, the buyers that have been involved in Magic since its beginning and since its iteration, they don't really care about them, because realistically, a lot of them are not buying modern product, regardless of what the set is. They're still going to be buying their Alpha, their Beta Unlimited, their 7th edition. They're still collecting their older bits. But probably spending a lot less than they did before. So why would they cater for that market? Because they're not the ones buying. Commander is the most popular game mode, so it makes sense. And the Universes Beyond, obviously, we've got the Marvel set coming up. We've got Final Fantasy next. That's next month. Yeah, next month is Final Fantasy. What month are we now? It's either May or June. But it's coming up. I've got some pre-ordered. My allocations got cut on that, so I'm not really getting very much, honestly. Probably enough just to open, to be fair. I did order 2 cases, so 12 boxes, and I'm getting 1. And I ordered loads of the special bundles, and I'm getting 1. So that's great. That sums up TCGs right now in 2025. Is I'll order X amount, and then it's like, cool. Well, how about 1? So that's pretty much kind of how it's been. So they obviously had the Deadpool secret lair. We had the SpongeBob secret lair. They're pumping out secret lairs. Right now they're doing one with an artist, and there's I did think it was about overpriced. $60 or £60 for 4 cards is a bit much for the foils. I think it's 30 for the non-foils, but even then, 15 for a foil or £7.50 even for a non-foil card. It's just they can print these about. They're making so much money off these secret lairs. I'm not sure they're really worth it personally. That's why I don't get them. I own 1 secret lair. It's the 30th anniversary one, only because there's a Shivan Dragon in it and potentially for Foil Mox. So I've kept it sealed just because it's I don't even know why I bought it, and it's just yeah, sure, I'll chill, I'll keep it. So obviously we had the recent Tarkia, the Dragon set, come out. That's pretty much what Magic is going to do, is they're going to just kind of revisit older sets. They've done it plenty of times now over the last X amount of years. That's pretty much where we are with that. I still think they make nice sets, like the Eldraine, the Wilds of Eldraine, the newer one, was a really nice set. The Neon Kamigawa was great. I really enjoyed Ikoria and Strixhaven. And then Ravnica Remastered was a pretty good set. So I still do touch on it. Bloomburrow as well. I think Bloomburrow is a fantastic set. So there are still some good sets out there, but they're not going to be catering for the older market. So it is a case of them wanting to encourage new people to get in the game. And the amount of people that I've had go, well, what's this Magic the Gathering Final Fantasy set? Or what's this Magic the Gathering SpongeBob secret lair? And I know a lot of people that have never touched Magic in their life, and they never normally would have, but they have because of these other IPs. It's the Weiss Schwarz kind of effect, Union Arena do it as well, Universes as well. So it just, it makes sense. Talking about Weiss, because I don't think I mentioned it in the last video, and a couple of people commented saying, can you bring it up? I am going to touch briefly on some of these card games because I don't really care enough about them. But I know that the Nika set came out recently. Is it the mobile game where you've got girls with big boobs and guns? I know for those of you that are watching that really enjoy them, I've seen some of you degen that. Mike opened up a box and got an SP, and I've seen some of you open multiple cases. It's a little bit down bad, but that's literally what Weiss is. I usually only touch it if it's a Sword Art Online. The Azure Lane stuff was pretty cool as well, which in itself is a weird concept. I know they're doing another Azure Lane set, but it's warships, female warships. So it's warships reimagined as females. So I'm not sure of what age they are. So it's a bit sus for me personally. I think if you're a diehard Weiss collector, it's a little bit sussy for me. A bit of a sussy backer there, because I'm not sure. I'm not sure if you're the kind of person that... You're definitely the kind of person that has a body pillow. And and you probably have a hole between your mattress. I don't trust you. I'm sorry. What game should we move on to next? I guess we'll go on to Pokemon, because everyone knows what's happening in Pokemon. Obviously, we had Journey Together come out recently, Prismatic. We've got Destined Rivals coming out next. Gloria Team Rocket boxes, as I predicted, have started coming down. Now, they're not at retail. You can probably get a box for around £80 shipped to the UK. Probably around $80 in America, which is about 2.2 times retail, which, considering how popular the set is, isn't too bad. I think when the restock comes in, or when the announcement for the restock comes in, so when they announce a reprint, that's when the price will drop down again, and I suspect you'll be able to get a box for around 60. I don't think it's going to be easy to get any boxes for retail. The Pokemon Center, they didn't do the lottery system for anyone outside Japan, so you had to have a Japanese mobile number, and you had to confirm. You had to do some ID things, so it makes sense. It's still ridiculous in Japan. It's still absolutely mental over there. I'm seeing massive queues on release dates. But speaking to a friend of mine, Zach, he's out there at the moment. He's opened a lot of battle partners, and he's actually got access to Destined Rivals as well. So it's not as bad as it's kind of made out to be. Japanese products should be for Japanese collectors, let's be honest here. It's the resellers that's the issue, that they'll hoard all the product because they have a supply to Pokemon. I'm not really sure how it works. It's a bit dodgy, but they will sell on, and stores as well. A lot of stores will exclusively sell abroad because they're going to make more money, right? Why sell at retail when you can sell for, ×3 or whatever? So Pokemon is just an absolute shit show as always. When people ask me, what's going on in Pokemon? It's kind of like, what isn't happening is, to be honest, everything's going up. There has been retraces. Don't get me wrong, there are retraces. Some stuff is starting to come down. But when you see the madness of some of this stuff selling, it is beyond mad. And something to bring up as well, and I'm going to grab them, is I have done a sale for my last Legendary Bird tins. So for those of you who don't know what these tins are, these were the very first Pokemon window tins ever made. So this is potentially the first time you're ever seeing these. But it's the last time you're going to see them on the channel anyway. So these tins here, I've got the Zapdos, Articuno, and the Moltres. And these are the very first window tins Pokemon ever created. The designs on these tins are absolutely amazing. So it's the Pokepark designs. You've got the Groudon, which a lot of this was used in Unseen Forces. So you've got the Kyogre, which is from EX Emerald. Then you've got the Ho-Oh, which was also from Unseen Forces. Groudon was Emerald, Rayquaza Emerald. Then the Legendary Beasts, or Dogs, even as people call them. So, yeah, I sold those. That was my last display of them. I did have 8. I've been in this game a long, long time. So when you're in this game a long, long time, you see stuff that other people don't always get to see. And that's just the reality of it. But I've sold those. So that's why you've seen the name from Pokémon King to PTK Collectibles, because it kind of makes sense with kind of moving the brand forward. But yeah, Pokemon, you can still collect stuff you like, don't get me wrong. I've pushed this multiple times in the past and said there is still things you can collect. It's not an absolute disaster, right? It just means that you can't always get all the product that you want on release. Flesh and Blood just come back from the Pro Tour in London about a week and a half ago. High Seas is coming out. The Hunted is sold out. We got a last wave in July. Rosetta is out of print now, officially, on the Flesh and Blood website. High Seas is completely sold out at distro level. So, distro has taken all the products that LS has made, has gone to distro. So, it's very, very popular. Obviously, you got the treasure packs as well. So, it'd be interesting to see how this set pans out, how quickly supply dries up, and how much product is being kept aside sealed. We know that there's a lot of investors that are going to keep product sealed, and collectors, of course, as well. I don't know. I don't like the idea of product not being on shelves. Personally, I've said this before. I don't like that. Same with Armory decks. I'm just not a fan of. You should be able to walk into an LGS and buy some product. And with the Armory decks as well, I want to walk into a store. I want to walk into a store and have supply, right? So I want to go, right, I might be able to pick Azalea, or I might be able to pick Bolton, or I might pick the Max, or Dash, Yarl. Like, I don't want to be able to go there and only be able to get the new one, because what's the point? Like, the Armory deck should be, and what they were designed for, really, was to be the product that is the next step from, like, the First Strike decks, the Welcome to Ira deck. But if you can't find them on stores, then what's the point? And I do think that these decks should be sold in big box stores. I think boxes and packs should be exclusive to the LGS for now. But I do think that these Armory decks should be in big box stores. It's going to bring people in that normally wouldn't go to an LGS, because not everyone has an LGS near them. And also, a lot of people just don't go to their LGS. They consume TCGs by going to big box stores. So I think opening your horizons, I guess, that way is a good way. But yeah, Flesh and Blood is doing really well. Again, another stellar year so far for it. Really looking forward to it. They're doing a lot of events where they're doing like learn to play stuff, booths at different like cons. So they're going to be at San Diego Comic Con, Gen Con, Gamma, Sphere, UK Games Expo. So yeah, interesting stuff. One Piece. So One Piece OP10 came out. OPO. I knew I was going to say that. OP10 came out. The first tins, the One Piece tins have come out. So you get 2 packs of OP10, and then you get a Don, which I guess it's basically the replacement. Well, it's basically like the double packs, really, but in tin form. So pretty cool. There's 2 designs. There's not really anything I need from OP10, to be honest. Product seems to be pretty available for One Piece, so I think it's kind of settled. Now, the player base is huge. Events still sell out, and it's still hard to get tickets to play in events. I play weekly at my weekly, play. I still run Zorro with the animals, and the deck does pretty good. The meta has definitely shifted a little bit. We've had a lot of Doffy, we've had Smoker. Apparently, the UK regionals in London the other weekend, Linen won, so quite an interesting one. Shanks again is another good deck as well. But One Piece is in a good way. I think it's stable now, and it's just cemented itself as like the 4th biggest TCG now. I can't see any other game pushing it off. When you look at games like Lorcana, and Lorcana's an odd one because I sold a lot of singles early on for Lorcana, and I kind of stopped because the EV from boxes was very difficult and the demand started to drop off. A lot of the people I know that played One Piece don't play anymore. Similarly to Star Wars Unlimited, and I kind of group those games in together because they didn't release at the same time, but they're similar to me personally. It's a big IP, and it's both big companies that make it. Obviously, Ravensburg have never made a card game before, and Fantasy Flight Games, they make games, but not necessarily like TCGs themselves, and that's a debatable topic of CCGs versus TCGs. There is a difference. We can see that. If you just look at the kind of card games that's made with those titles, CCGs was very like early 2000s. TCGs, there's a lot more value in the cards themselves on like the secondary market. Star Wars Unlimited, again, like Lorcana, I don't know. As I said, I'm going to group them together because I do think they're very similar in terms of they went very hard early on, and they've kind of dropped off a little bit. So I'm sure they'll find their place. The worry I have with Star Wars is they announced a rotation for next year, I think. And rotations is a bit of a funny one because One Piece has announced it as well, but they also have announced that a lot of the cards will have new versions, right? So it's just them kind of like, I guess, trying to help with like power creep and kind of really powerful cards without doing big ban lists. Lorcana, I'm not sure as much. They haven't announced a rotation. Not sure how they're going to get around that because card games have different options. Obviously, Pokemon does rotation. Yu-Gi-Oh! Just had pure power creep, but the old cards are just trash. Obviously, Flesh and Blood has a Living Legend format, which is great. So I'm not really sure how that is, but I don't really kind of keep too much of an eye on Lorcana and Star Wars. I still do sell singles. I just don't buy collections anymore. What other card games? Sorcery. I've spoken about Sorcery before, and I've said I love the card artwork, but I don't think it's a card game, and I don't think it's going to be big. And I did worry about it, and I do not hear anyone talk about Sorcery anymore. I know that the second set, Arturian Legends, is on discount at distro, so if you're in the UK and you want any boxes, hit me up. I can get you some boxes for cheaper. But I don't see it in stores. I don't hear people talk about it. There's no buzz around it. And I am in groups, but anybody that's outside, like anyone that's involved in the card games, I guess, just doesn't bring it up. So it was always going to be a risk with a game that releases one set a year, because there's not enough new stuff coming out to get people excited. It does give people the chance to kind of learn the meta enough, but my worry is, if there is decks that are super good, and you're not releasing another set for a year, how are you going to combat that? Are you just going to do big ban lists, but then you've only got like a few sets out? And I've not heard anything about the next set either. So I might be wrong. They might have announced it and there might be information out there, but I've heard nothing. And I do know a lot of people that are involved and play and collect and stuff in different card games. And there seemed to be a big buzz around Sorcery. Kind of like Altered, actually. I'll give Altered that as well, because Altered was exciting. I played the game. I really enjoyed it. But then it just died. And I know that there is a scene in Europe, but my worry with Altered was that it was a bit too different with the QR scans. And I'm looking at my card still there from the box I opened. And it's just like, yeah, the game's fun, but as I always say, it doesn't matter if you make a great game. The cards can look great. The mechanics can play well. But if no one plays it and no one sees it, then what's the point? So I don't know. I haven't seen the game. I haven't seen the game in stores either, actually, again. Very much like Sorcery. I just don't see it. Grand Archive. I know they did the Ultra Edition of the second or third set. I think the most recent set just didn't do very much. I think the meta on it wasn't... It didn't change the meta, so it's kind of a bit of a dull set. But as we know with card games, the potential for those cards to be useful in the future is always there. I do have a bit of a soft spot for Grand Archive because I actually do think it's a really great game. And I think out of all of the Kickstarter card games, I hope that it has the chance to succeed. I do see the events going on. I do still hear people talking about Grand Archive. So when people aren't talking about card games, that's when I get worried, when it goes quiet. But I still do hear people talk about Grand Archive. I still do get people messaging me about Grand Archive. Are you going to stock it now? I do have singles, but because it's not on Card Market, I kind of don't adopt it. Now, if it got on Card Market, I would absolutely adopt Grand Archive a lot more. But because I don't have an easy way to sell the singles, I just don't want to. It's just too much work on my part. Whereas with Card Market, it's just so easy. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they're going to add it on there or such. I don't know if anyone from Card Market support is watching. I know there was a vote thing about a year ago, and people voted for Sorcery and Grand Archive, so I don't know what happened with that. I'm not sure if there wasn't enough votes, or... I don't know. I don't know how long it took Flesh and Blood to get on there, to be honest. But Grand Archive's been out, 3 years now, maybe? So I hope that it continues to do, how it is. Maybe it'll grow even bigger. But as I said, Grand Archive has a bit of a soft spot in my heart. I do think it's generally a really fun game. I enjoy the cards. They look great. I'm still in the Grand Archive Discords, and I still pop in sometimes and kind of see what's about. And there does seem to be still a buzz about the game, which is, great to hear. What other card games have I missed? I think I've gone through the main ones. And I'm always going to miss one, and someone's going to comment saying, oh, you missed this one. Generally, if I haven't spoken about it, then I just, it's either not big enough or it's just not involved. Like, Union Arena Universes, I think they're both doing fine, but I'm just not really actively involved in them at the moment. I know my friend Matt was recently at a Universes event. I think he came about 50th. So the game is still doing well. Don't get me wrong. I think the cards look pretty cool as well. They've improved since the first cards they came out. And Union Arena, as always, is still banging out sets. I know that they did a Nikkei set as well. So it's kind of similar to Weiss in that aspect, really. But they also do other things like Star Trek and Godzilla. And I know that I think they're doing another Sword Art Online set. So I'll probably open that. I still get like constant views on my Sword Art Online openings. There is a fan base of us out there. Sword Art Online is my favourite. I know that they did a card, I think it was a solo leveling, like decks for universes, but I don't know if there's going to be a solo leveling set for either one of those, you know, anime TCGs. Same as Kaiju number 8. Both of them really fantastic. Vinland Saga would be great if one of those adopted that. That would be really cool. But apart from that, I mean, I've had people ask me about Alpha Clash. I just don't care. I stocked Alpha Clash and I could not sell it for the life of me. I ended up having to sell it below distro pricing, and it is still discounted at distro. I ended up having to make a loss on them just to get them out of my stock because they're just dead card games. Like, there is not enough room for all these card games, and we can have this debate all we want because I get emails almost weekly from card game developers where they're talking about their new card game coming out and they're like, oh, I'd like to get you involved, and I'm absolutely flattered, but at the same time, there's not enough room for all of these, and we can be sentimental about it all you want, and we can have this, oh, but the game plays really well, it's the best gameplay I've ever seen, or the cards look so nice. Doesn't matter. You need a big marketing budget, whether you like it or not, to get the game out there. The gameplay needs to be great, the artwork needs to be great, you need to have a niche, you need to have a unique selling point. If you don't, then, you know, it's not going to be good enough. Look at what is out there. There's so many card games out there. Very rarely does any card game that isn't a big IP break the mold. If you look at all the biggest card games, the only one in recent times that is like top 10 TCGs is Flesh and Blood. They're the only one that is not a big IP. You've got Magic the Gathering, you've got Pokemon, you've got Yu-Gi-Oh, you've got One Piece, you've got Digimon, you've got Dragon Ball, you've got Disney, you've got Star Wars, you've got Weiss that does all these different IPs. Very rarely do you ever get a game. I would say Sorcery is probably the closest thing, and maybe Grand Archive, but even then, they're just a bit far off. I think Grand Archive is probably closer. So, yeah, I'm keeping an eye on some of these card games. There's ones that I really root for, and there's ones that I just don't give a shit about. I'm sorry. MetaZoo as well. I guess I should talk about MetaZoo. I don't care. I don't care enough about MetaZoo. I'm sorry if you sucked Mike's dick and you really enjoyed MetaZoo and it's your favourite card game and you and your son just really enjoyed collecting it. I just don't care. MetaZoo is just not for me. I didn't like the first style of the cards. They looked fucking shit. And I do not like the second one. Because I would have respected them more if they'd continued from the original designs and gone, do you know what? It might not be for everyone, but we're proud of it. But no, they took over. The new owners took over and went, so what are you keeping here? What do you like about MetaZoo? Because if you believe in the product, then at least double down on it and go, right, we're going to do it anyway. But this is just this like watered down sort of wishy-washy kind of beat around the bush of, we bought the IP, we want to release it again, but we don't want it to be anything like it was before. I don't know. So, yeah, whatever. I'd love to say that, good luck to MetaZoo, but I just don't care. I wouldn't be surprised if in a year's time they end up like closing again. And I want to see. I'll go straight on the Facebook groups and I'll just watch people cry. And it'll be a case of I told you so. There's one guy that still messages me about Akora. I think it's since the video I did where I talked about Akora. I started with the whole fuck Akora sort of thing. Bro, that game died years ago. Get over it. Just get over it. Xeon's not going to let you hit. The game is dead. No one cares. Move on with your life. Find another card game. There's a load of great card games. Get involved in Flesh and Blood. It's a card game that actually cares about the people involved in the game. They care about the players. They care about the collectors. They care about the fans. They care about the people that cosplay, that make these events run. So I think this year will be a really good year for Yu-Gi-Oh! Again. But I think Flesh and Blood, this is Flesh and Blood's year again. I keep saying it, and I will keep saying it. So if you are interested in trying a new card game, highly recommend giving Flesh and Blood a go. It really is a game. Okay, the entry point is a little bit expensive, but these armory decks are great. Find a local scene. They're really going to help. Local scenes are so helpful with this. And that's basically kind of like, you know, get into games. I got this 3D printed, which has a little bit of a sign here. So this was from Elliot Gibson Collectibles, a good friend of mine. He's 3D printed this. He also 3D printed the clock that's on my wall. So I'm going to start vendoring again at events, more so. So we're going to be at Pokemania in Portsmouth at next week, actually. I'll be at London Card Show, not vendoring, and then I'll also be at UK Games Expo as well. So if you're any of those events, hit me up. It'd be great to sit down and have a chat. As always, have a great day. Please hit the comment, like, and subscribe button. Loads of you aren't subscribed that watches my videos. Just subscribe, you know. I want to get to 10k subscribers, so please help. If I don't get to 10k subscribers, I'm going to cry myself to sleep. More than I usually do anyway. But, you know, as always, have a great day.